Hello everybody, this is Nick with WatchTalkWorld.com, and up for review today we have the Oris Big Crown Pointer Date. This watch measures in at 40 millimeters and is one of the smaller watches I've owned in a while, which I think you guys never really know what to expect with my reviews anymore. If I continue to follow the same pattern, I'm always switching things up every few months. But the general features of this watch, I mentioned the 40 millimeter case. We have an oversized crown, which primarily this watch is modeled after the original Big Crown Pointer Date, which, while I'm not sure on the date, the dates when it was made, the only changes they've really made from the original is they've made the case a bit bigger and it's got a different movement, but the general design has stayed very true to the original. I do enjoy the large crown. Having stubby fingers really makes it pretty easy to grip, so it's pretty convenient, because I've had some watches with really tiny crowns and it can sometimes be kind of tricky to get the crown to do what you would like for it to do. As I mentioned there a little bit ago, it's got a pointer date, which is pretty nice. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I'm generally used to date window, but I think really it adds a nice touch to have another hand. It switches over pretty much right at midnight, which is generally a characteristic of Swiss movements. As you can see here, the case is relatively slim for an automatic. Lugs curve pretty nicely. I'm glad they don't really curve any more, because with an 8-inch wrist they would almost curve too much. And as you can probably tell, this watch uses a domed crystal. But what you might not expect, it's an acrylic crystal, which is primarily a throwback to the original as well, and really kind of adds to the vintage look of the watch. However, acrylic does have some benefits. It is more impact resistant because it has the ability to flex more than mineral and sapphire crystals, as well as it has the ability that it can be more easily polished if scratched. So I've never had a watch with an acrylic crystal, so it's going to be kind of a learning experience to see how well I like it and how well it does stand up with normal wear. You open it up here and we'll take a look at the case back. Excuse me. In this watch we have the Sellita SW200, which has been modified by Oris and called the Caliber 754. While I don't agree with Oris or several other companies for that matter for making minor modifications or decorating a movement and calling it their own, it is what it is. But one thing I do know that I really like the red rotor. It's kind of it is an Oris trademark, and I think it just really stands out. And I'm not sure how well you can see the movement, but from what I can tell, I believe Oris uses the mid-grade movements, either the elaborate or I'm not sure what Sellita calls the grades of their movements, but as far as many people guess, they're the mid-grade movements, which is always a nice touch to get up above the basic movements, if for nothing else than just to have the nicer parts used in the higher grade movements. General impressions of the watch. I've owned watches that cost more than this, but I'm not sure I've had one more well put together. The bracelet almost feels silky on the wrist. It just kind of conforms to the wrist in a natural way that I'm not sure I've ever really felt. It's just they've gotten rid of all the corners. It's very flexible. The case is completely rounded at every point. It's just the most comfortable watch, especially on a bracelet, that I've ever I've ever owned. It's also very solid. You know, when buckled, I mean, there's no sounds, no rattles. Everything's just put together really well. But overall, I'm really surprised with Oris that really such a nice watch can be had at the prices that they offer. This one retails for about $1,200, but generally if you do a little bit of digging, you can find some pretty deep discounts. They can be found for under $600 new, and used you can probably find them, you know, for less. You'll find them for less than that. A couple last things. A couple of nice touches. It's got the texture on the dial, which I'm a softy for a textured dial. And they also use superluminova on the hands and on the indices here, which lights up pretty nicely, really. So, but really overall, a very nice watch. Like I said, probably the best built that I've owned yet. So you may be looking for a mid-range Swiss watch, check it out. And if you'd like more information, check us out at watchtalkworld.com. Thank you.